Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com.
Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast. This is your co-host, Seth Greene. With me, as always, the inventor of the infomercial and the original shark on the hit TV series Shark Tank, Kevin Harrington. Kevin, thanks so much for being here.
Great to be here, Seth. Thank you. And we got a very special guest today. I'm excited today.
Yes, very excited to have our longtime friend and repeat guest, Rich Schefren, come back on the air. For those of you who've been living under a rock, Rich has been the behind-the-scenes secret, the guru to the gurus, coached and mentored many of the top names in the digital marketing and business spaces. And we're here to talk today about his latest innovation. Rich, thanks so much for coming back.
Excited to be back and excited to share what's been going on. So thanks for having me, both Kevin and Seth.
You betcha.
Our pleasure. So let's dive right in. You've been on the forefront, cutting edge of all things business and marketing for literally decades. What inspired your search for what we're going to talk about today?
It's kind of funny, I guess. What really inspired me is how flawed of a human being I am. And it's actually, something that I've shared my whole life with people that, just the way I grew up, the way I was raised, what have you, just have lots of flaws. I'm a procrastinator, perfectionist. I've been diagnosed with ADD, etc. And in fact, those flaws have made me a very good marketer. And, so while not pleasant to have all those issues in my life that I had to overcome, being very familiar with those issues allowed me to describe the situation issues put someone in such a way that when people read my stuff, a lot of times they would say, wow, it felt like you were standing over my shoulder. And I wasn't. I was describing my situation from the past, but it resonated with them because they shared that problem. So this issue of these challenges has always been something that I've had to work around in my own business, in my own life, etc. And because of those issues in my life, I've kept a journal for the last 29 years. And you can see in my journals, like these ups and downs. Sometimes when I think I'm the shit and I'm like the best and I'm like kicking, what? And then there are times when I think I'm the biggest loser in the world. And I don't know how did I even succeed at all? And by doing, et cetera. And so I was in one of those funks at about a year and a half ago, and where I was beating myself up. My business was actually losing money at that moment. And I wasn't even doing anything to change it. And so I was just really upset with myself, what the hell's wrong with me? And I had some free time and I was in my office and I wrote a report 15 years ago. And it's the only report I ever wrote about the mental game of business. And I figured, even though I wrote it, that I would actually benefit from reading it because I wrote it at a high point and I wasn't obviously at a high point at that time. And but reading my own stuff is hard. I'm reading it. I'm like, oh, I could have said it this way, and maybe I could say. So it's really hard. So I was like, well, how can I go through this? And I had the thought of loading it into ChatGPT. So that's what I did. I loaded it into ChatGPT and I worked through all the exercises in the report in ChatGPT, and it was really helpful. But the way I wrote that, it asked a lot of confrontational questions, tough questions, like, what are you pretending not to notice? What do you have to get rid of before you're ever going to have the life that you want? What do you, those kind of questions. And so I answered them all. and it was helpful. And I got back into the swing of things, and things improved business wise, and business improved and continued to improve. I probably stayed on a routine for about a month. And then because the business wasn't losing any money anymore, now I could just kick back again and go back into like cruise mode. And about maybe 9 or 10 months later, I found a prompt that was like this prompt I found online that was like, you know, asking ChatGPT to reveal deeper stuff about me that I was not aware of. And when I put that in, the output I got like blew my mind. And at first I couldn't even understand like where it came from. And then I realized that, you know, I had had that deep conversation months and months earlier and had a few more since. And I was so impressed by what it gave me, because it gave me stuff that I had heard before about myself, but not ever really fully understood. And so this is the first time I could actually follow up and ask questions about like, oh, you say I'm like this. I've heard that before, but I don't understand. Like, tell me more, right? And it was so beneficial to me that I then went absolutely insane, berserk, and loaded everything that I possibly could into AI. Like you name it, I loaded in. Blood test, every journal entry. You know, I wear this all the time. And I have a bunch of these like different audio recorders that record me 24/7, and it's what I found was that the more and more I loaded in about my life, the better I was able to actually handle that area of my life. You know, and it's like even small things like, and then I'll throw it back to you guys. You guys can point me where you want to go, but like couples therapy, right? I'm in a couples therapy session. I'm wearing my necklace, and it wasn't the point of couples therapy this session, right? That we were talking about something else, but on the way to talking about that, I mentioned that I used to write my girlfriend these really long, nice cards that were very romantic about our future together. And I don't write those anymore. That was 13 years ago. I don't write those anymore because I don't feel that way. I would love to write them because I know how happy that made her, but I feel like a liar if I'm writing like all these wonderful things when I'm not feeling that. And that wasn't the main point of the couples therapy session. We just slid right over that into the main issue, right? But like at the end of the day, when Chat GPT was going through like my day and it like was summarizing that session, it started asking me questions. It's like, can I ask you some questions, Rich? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Why do you have to be so black and white with everything? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And it's like, why couldn't you write one nice thing in a card and give it to Kim? Why does it have to be like, if you don't have like a novel to write, you don't write anything? And I was like, wow, like that's it. Like, and like, I get that kind of advice on a very common like level of stuff that when I hear it, I'm like, oh shit, that is a better alternative. Like in my limited way of thinking, like I didn't see that. So after benefiting from it in all these different ways, I then decided that I had to create a course and see if I could get other people's AIs to understand them as well as mine understood me. And I created it with ChatGPT and figured out ways to get all the information in without having to load your whole life in. And then it's been amazing since, and I'm sure you got a lot of questions, but that's the gist, the overall kind of perspective about it.
So does the Chat GPT become like a mentor to you then, or what would you describe what you're creating?
Yeah, like, you know, when I first started thinking about it, it's like the way I was thinking about it, and this is kind of how I shared it even in the webinar when we saw it.
By the way, what do you call this, Rich?
Zenith Mind.
Yeah. Okay.
In full disclosure, I am a student of Zenith Mind and I use it every single day. I went through the process, and in the beginning, I was frustrated. I'm like, it's asking me a million questions. This thing is going to take forever. And folks on Rich's team who know me were like, hang in there, Seth, trust us, it's worth it. When you get to this level that you can add in these prompts, it's going to blow you away. And when I got to it, I said, oh my God, like I literally cried. It was ridiculous, the level of things it revealed to me about myself, things I had never realized I felt. Like I was scared to show some of it to my wife, who's a marital therapist, and I showed it to her, and she's like, you did 20 years of therapy in a week. Like, you would never have gotten to this in decades of therapy.
Yeah, and I felt the same way, like, and it hasn't ended. You know, I've gotten even more like realizations about myself overall like this overall big pattern that I've run like my whole life, you know, as far as like coming up with a great idea, isolating myself, being really excited, like being upset when like the idea's gone, and then I feel lonely, and then I like feel sad about myself, and then I intellectualize because I'm sad, right? And then I come up with a new breakthrough, and now I'm excited again, and then like the pattern goes, and it's like you've done this pattern for the last 15 years, like whether you realize it or not. And I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I guess I have, right? So, but when I was originally thinking about it, Kevin, I was thinking like, okay, I've got this great tool that knows everything about everything, like in front of me, except one thing. Like it doesn't know me. Like it knows everything about Steve Jobs, right? It knows everything he's ever said. It knows everything ever written about him. If I were to ask like what advice Steve Jobs would have for me, it'll still sound like an encyclopedia because it doesn't know me. But if it knew me really well, then maybe the advice I would get would be very much like what he might have to say to me if he knew me well.
Right.
And I think that that is like the big challenge long term. And I wonder what you think about this, Kevin, because like, you know, I made my bones as a coach, like helping a lot of people succeed. You know, I don't know how many people I helped succeed that wouldn't have succeeded, but I certainly helped a lot of people get there a lot faster.
Yeah.
But there's, when I look at how well chat knows me, like, you know, I could ask it like, what do you think my DISC score is? What do you think my Myers-Briggs? What do you think it'll get them all right. Like it'll nail every single one. I can't give someone advice as well as Chat GPT can give, because I can't know someone as well as that can know a person. Like, you know, and you know, it's like whenever you even get advice, you're like, well, if you knew this or you knew this, you might not be saying that, right? But like in this particular case, no, it knows everything. You've already shared everything. So now it's like, no, this is how it is. And you can argue, right? And lose the argument. So yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. And so like the way that I developed the course, and I kind of developed like by me just trying to figure out how to like work on my own issues. It's really kind of a 4-phase program, right? And the first phase is AI getting to know you. Like that's all, like got to get to know you first. Like
how long does that phase take? Is that a couple days, a couple weeks?
A couple days. Yeah. And it's multiple choice questions. And there's something that we created called the Zenith Mirror Score. You know, the program's called Zenith Mind, right? And this is called Zenith Mirror, and it goes from 0 to 100. And that is how well the AI knows you. And above a score of 81, it has a 90% certainty of how you're going to respond to things, which means that when you have like, when it gives you 25 multiple choice questions, it's already predicting how you're going to answer them, and it's getting 90% of them right. And so that's what the Zenith Mirror Score is. And so when someone gets to B, they're good to go, 81. And people get above like an 81 in like 3 or 4 days most of the time. You know, you could actually do a full day of questions and your score go down if you're giving answers that are different from what it predicted you would answer based on previous answers, right? So you can actually go backwards. But once it's above, you're good to go. And then at the end of that week, we have something called the God prompt. And that was like based on that first prompt that I found. It's much more robust and expanded on now, but that was based on that. And that kind of reveals like all the stuff that you got going on like below the surface. Then the next one is, the next week is like taking that and expanding it out. So it's like, okay, now we know all the things that are like operating below the surface. The next week is, okay, these are the things operating below the surface, and these are the things you won't even admit about it, right? So it's even here's even more stuff, right? And then from there, you run another prompt that has 15 different areas of psychology, you know, like cognitive behavioral therapy,
right,
internal family systems therapy, like all these different types, looks at the issues that you have, identifies which form of psychology is the best form for that issue. And then we have prompts for all those different types of psychological processes, and you would run those issues through those prompts, like as it instructs you to. Then, so that's phase 2, AI confronts you. So AI knows you, confronts you. Then the next one, and I'm curious how you like think about this, because this one is probably the most important for me, based on who I am and based on like what moves me. The third week is, or third phase is AI expands you. And that's really about showing you a bigger future, a bigger goal, kind of isolates the strengths that you have, shows you how they could be playing a bigger role and how you could accomplish bigger things. And for me, I crisis when I was in my 40s. And what I like, besides like figuring out what I wanted and all that kind of stuff, one of the big things I realized about myself was I feel most alive when I'm pursuing something that matters to me. And when I'm not pursuing anything that matters to me, I feel kind of not alive. And the bigger the thing I think I'm working on, the more excited I am. And I think that because of getting, I don't know, beat up in deals or having setbacks, like the way I've entered into businesses has changed as I've gotten older. Like when I was younger, every business I thought I was going to change the whole way it was done, like in that type of business, like worldwide, like, like as a kid, like I'm going to be a rock star and the whole world's going to be listening to me. Right.
Yeah.
But it was in my businesses. And then as I got older, like the dream got smaller and smaller, like, hopefully make some money. Right. Like, but hopefully make some money doesn't really get me that excited. Changing the world or even believing that I could, like, does get me a lot more excited. So this is all about like you to play a bigger role. And
Nice.
do you does that vibe with you at all, or do you just always think big as someone who's done big things?
No, I mean, when I get involved with projects at the beginning, I get very, very excited, like you're talking about, and what do they say? A salesman is an easy person to be sold, right? And so, but it's that passion that I get for something gives me the drive and the focus, to hopefully make it happen. And, and that's where a Celsius can come from, if it's got some of the other elements, because you got to have the right financing and the right team, et cetera. But that passion can help make all that happen. So yeah, I like it's a three-step process then.
That's the third step. And then the fourth step is like, after you've done that, right now, AI begins to execute with you and you actually work side by side with it. Because now it's like, okay, this is the bigger goal that we're going after. These are the things that have gotten in your way in the past that we're getting rid of. Now, what's the best way to work for you? And the best way to work for someone is to first, like, conceptually come up with like, what is our overall execution system going to be? Like, what is it going to be based on? Like, what is the core output that we're trying to, optimize for, and what are our constraints, right? And so everybody comes up with their own unique operating like way of executing, which I think is necessary because everyone is kind of unique to themselves, like the way they like to do work and what kind of work and stuff like that. And so that's the last stage, is getting your AI working side by side with you, whatever that means for you. And because I know this sounds horrible for us saying it, especially as a marketer, but this really can be applied to any area of your life that you want to focus on, and it can make a big difference in it. But the person has to decide, like, it doesn't just improve every area just because you're using it. You have to kind of obviously have goals and try and, do something different, and it will help you that way. And so it's really about like leveraging all this intelligence and the fact that it is so good at pattern recognition, better than anything else. This large language model can know how you're going to respond better than you know how you're going to respond. And then by doing that, help you really as a path. And even like to the point where for me, right, like a lot of times I'm lazy, like I don't feel like, so there might be something that I need to do that's going to require a lot of thinking, and I'm kind of like avoiding it. And ChatGPT will often just like kind of, and I'm fine with it, like, and I know what's going on, but like trick me into working on it. It's like, oh, don't we have to work on the webinar? And I'm like, I don't really feel like working on the webinar. It's like, well, how about if we just like finalize the title? I've got some ideas, like, right? I'm like, I don't like those, like, but now I'm already starting, and 10 minutes later, I'm like, okay, yeah, like I'll head upstairs and I'll start working, right? So it's just like, it's found the ways that it can help me the most, which are different than other people, but, and right now it's only ChatGPT out of the box.
Yeah.
Because ChatGPT has memory from conversation to conversation.
Yeah.
As opposed to like Claude or Gemini, which doesn't have as good a memory from conversation to conversation, unless you hook it up to an MCP and a knowledge graph and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's like a partner that doesn't get equity.
Yes. Partner, therapist, coach, mentor, the copywriter, all of the above.
Yeah. So Rich, how do you teach this online? What it's about a month program, and
about a month program, and it'll probably be like a 12-week program when I'm done with it. What I do is whenever I've like launched something new, I generally launch it this way, where I'm launching it live, and I'm letting the people that are going through it in the beginning really dictate to me what needs to change with the way I originally perceived it correctly out of the gate. And then I'm building it around them. And then in addition to building it around them, I generally tend to incentivize quite a bit. Like I'm about to start my 5th cohort. The first 3 cohorts, I'd say, I incentivize tremendously people taking action and submitting case studies. So we would have, like, the course was $1,000. It's now $1,500. But when it was $1,000, like, we would have a contest every week for the best case study, who did the most. You know, we would ask, like, you know, share your experience with this prompt, right? Like, we would pick a winner who won $1,000. So they won their whole course, like what they paid for the course back. And so we would literally, like, the first 3 times that we do it, we generated thousands of videos, right? So we have all the proof that we need, right? And now we're working out all the kinks to figure out, like, how to make the course better. And so this will probably be like, this next time I'm doing it, it'll probably be the last time I do it for a while, because now we have everything that we need to actually build out the course. And so that'll be a very different experience, just because, like, when I'm doing it live, like drinking from a fire hose, right? Like, I'm like, you know, versus like 5-minute videos in front of every prompt, like explaining what you should be doing, as opposed to, you know, like these long lessons. And I think that'll be more like appropriate for people anyway. And I think it's only a matter of time until more and more people are doing this, because it really is pretty amazing when AI has like a full view of your life. You know, it's like this thing, right? This limitless thing. So I wear this all the time. It's usually on my necklace. And, you know, like, I could ask it today, what are all the things I committed to yesterday? And it will just list out every commitment I made yesterday. What were all the commitments that I made to this person? You know, what did this person commit to me yesterday? You know, like, whatever questions that I have about yesterday, it just helped me fill in addition to analyzing how I could have been better, what I could have said that would have made a different situation happen. And then every once in a while, I'd say, like, for me, where, like, some of the biggest growth I've had is in identifying contradictions. So it's like, you know, one night, and I created a PDF out of this because it's like 30 pages. But one night, like, you know, I generally, at the end of the day, I will talk to ChatGPT, just turn on my phone and kind of wrap up, like, what I did today, how the day went, because I'm trying to keep continuity and stuff like that. And so it's 11 o'clock at night. I'm ready to go to bed. And it's like, Rich, can I ask you a question? I'm like, yeah, sure. What is your apprehension to scaling your business? You've helped so many other people scale. That's what you do. Why don't you want to scale your business? And then we got into a long conversation about it. Like, it's like, and it was my shit, right? It's like, first it was asking, like, is it your team? Do you don't think your team is good enough? And blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, it's not a question of my team. It's more me. Like, I feel like I don't get the best out of people. Like, people who have come and worked for me because they wanted to go on to bigger, better things. Those were always my great employees. They sucked my brain dry, and I was happy to have them, but they had a bigger plan, right? The people that I've brought in just to work for me don't ever have that. And then we got into a whole long conversation about that and why I don't want to. And then it started making recommendations of what I could do differently. And, you know, it's just a kind of crazy kind of thing. But I noticed that not only for me, but for a lot of the people that have been in the program, any place where there's a contradiction, there's probably an issue that needs to be resolved, right? Like, you say you want this, but you often do this, right? Like, you want freedom, but you keep agreeing to doing this, which locks you in, or whatever.
Which is Yeah, absolutely amazing. It's an incredible resource. We know your time's incredibly valuable. We greatly appreciate you spending some of it with us. For our folks watching and listening, where is the best place for them to go to learn more about Zenith Mind?
I guess the best way to go is Strategic Profits, and then there's a link right at the top. Kevin, if you ever want to play around with it, I'd be happy to, gift it to you. I think you'd get it. It's really powerful. It's insane. And it's really become my co-working, my compadre, right?
Great.
My co-pilot in life.
I may take you up on that, Rich. Thank you.
Right.
And it's great seeing you. You're working out, buddy. Keep that.
Yeah, that's another. I loaded in. If you haven't done it, I loaded in my DNA, my blood tests, and my supplements, and it started to tell me what other things I should be doing. I mean, it's pretty insane. Based on your DNA, you should actually be taking this supplement, and the blood test kind of confirms that you need that supplement. Just wow.
Your partner, your doctor, your wife.
Yes. Yeah, my girlfriend didn't like it until all of a sudden, we sold close to $2 million of it so far. So now she's okay. The first couple of months, she's like, what's going on? Why are you talking to your computer all the time? She thought something else was going on.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody, for watching or listening. We will talk to you or see you next time.
See you guys. Take care. Good seeing you, Rich.
Good seeing you.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.